You lock it up. You lock it up. Lock it up.
Hit the guys up on the Riverwind Casino call-in line at 405-329-9000 or text the show on the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line at 405-651-3439.
Do it! Just do it!
Now, with Locked In, here's Parker Thune and Grayson Singleton.
You know what I love about social media, Grayson?
This should be good.
There's a lot that I hate about social media, but there's a decent amount that I love about social media, one of which is the power of social media and being able to solicit the intelligence of other human beings.
You go to social media for that?
On occasion, yes.
Okay.
I'll give you an example. Last night, I find this weird-looking plant in my backyard.
Ooh.
And so first thing I thought was, how many Oklahoma... Like, I'm from Nebraska, and I've owned property in the state of Oklahoma for about 5 months now. So I find this weird-looking plant with these weird-looking fruits all over the back of my property, and I figure, how many Oklahomans follow me and will know exactly what this is, even if I don't? I definitely trust the Oklahomans that follow me more than I trust some sort of plant identifier app. So I just tweeted out a picture, and the people of the great state of Oklahoma came through. This is what I love about social media. That's the type of thing that social media should be used for. That and talking about sports. Those are the two things that social media should be used for. Plant identification and talking about sports.
So clearly you ain't you don't like memes.
Oh, also memes. I mean, memes are fine. Okay, I take it back. 3 categories. Plant identification, talking about sports, memes. There you go. Those are the 3 things social media is good for. If more people did those 3 things on social media instead of trolling mindlessly and just engaging in mindless discourse in general on Twitter/X and other platforms, then we would have a much more harmonious society. If we didn't use social media to talk politics, we would have a much more harmonious society. There's good social media, there's bad social media. I experienced the good side last night.
So what was that plant?
I guess it was a ground plum or something like that. It has a bunch of various names.
Is it
milk vetch?
Is it edible?
It's edible, but like not good.
Okay.
So I did some more research on it once people identified it for me. It's like, okay, raw, it tastes like a sweet pea, and cooked, it tastes like a string bean. But, you know, it looks like a plum.
A plum, yeah.
Or like maybe like an acerola cherry or something along those lines. And so I was just like, you know what? I don't really want to eat these because that would just be a weird sensation. You know, putting something in my mouth that's in my head, supposed to taste like fruit, but instead it tastes like a string bean. Yeah, can't rock with that.
There were so many jokes I could have made out of the last 15 seconds.
And the text line will probably do that. I have no doubt. Good-natured humor, once again.
This is
what social media is good for.
This is what social media is good for.
The Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line is basically social media, let's be honest. It's our form of social media while we're on air. 405-651-3439. Thanks to all of you that chime in every day throughout the show. We have much to discuss, not only pertaining to OU football recruiting, but pertaining to OU basketball recruiting and, of course, more specifically, the transfer portal. So we're going to welcome Brody Lusk, OU Hoops reporter from OUinsider.com, back to the program. It's been basically weekly appearances for Brody over the last month and a half, but he always brings the goods. Oklahoma got another big-time commitment yesterday in Xavier Brown from St. Joe's. What is left for this program in the portal? We will discuss all of that with Brody at 2:20. Want to remind you before we go any further, the show is brought to you today and every day by Dorsey Jones Buick GMC in El Reno. A low-pressure sales environment with a very friendly staff out there. Great service as well, half-price oil changes on Saturdays. If you're looking for an upgrade in the vehicle department, try one of the reliable Buicks or GMCs that's available for you out on the lot at Dorsey Jones Buick GMC in El Reno. A 918 listener says, goodness, Parker, don't we get enough rants from Steely? I'm sorry, I'm not trying to rant. We're 5 minutes into the show. It's not a rant. Chill. We're about to talk sports. So let's talk sports, Grayson. And let's start with the two portal visitors that were in town yesterday for Oklahoma. Ricky Lolohea, former Oklahoma State Cowboy and Utah State Aggie, defensive tackle, 6'3", 305 pounds. And Lance Mason, the Missouri State transfer tight end, who comes, well, we don't know if he's coming to Oklahoma yet, but would come to OU with 1 year of eligibility remaining, and in all likelihood, fight for a starting job in 2025 in a very unproven tight end room. Both of those visits, to my knowledge, have concluded. Things look good based on the sources I've spoken with, regarding both the situation with Lance Mason and the situation with Ricky Lolohea. What's going to be interesting is that Lance Mason's next visit is to the University of Wisconsin. And generally, as we saw with Jake Michaela, right, you can be the first visit for a kid in the portal, and the process can get prolonged and you can still come out on top. It can happen. But generally speaking, it puts you at a little bit of a disadvantage if you do get the first visit and then the kid goes somewhere else after the fact. If you're locking down the first visit, if you're locking in the first visit, you're locking in the first visit with the expectation that we're going to get this guy to sign a contract while he's on campus and he ain't leaving. We're going to make sure he doesn't leave. So, evidently that effort was unsuccessful with Lance Mason. Again, Oklahoma still feels good about where things are at with the Missouri State transfer tight end, but Wisconsin is not to be disregarded, Grayson, when it comes to the portal recruitments of tight ends.
No.
Or the recruitments of tight ends in general. Those Big Ten schools, man, the one thing they can sell to tight ends and linebackers, most specifically, is that, hey, this is an old school league. This is a league where your game is going to fit in nicely.
We're not going to spread it out all the time and try to throw the ball 40 times and go to a hurry-up off it. It fits. It's not a coincidence that a lot of the NFL's better tight ends in the last, half decade to decade or so have all come from the Big Ten. I mean, just look at what Iowa's done. They've had a monopoly on the NFL draft when it's come to tight end in recent memory. So, no, I mean, especially the allure of playing up north as well, that just fits more into the tight end sort of DNA.
And it creates a very interesting quandary for Oklahoma, too. Let's say Lance Mason wants to be Wisconsin Badger. Where do you turn from there? The options right now in the portal at tight end are not spectacular. They are not spectacular. Lance Mason looks like the best option out there. Outside of him, man, where do you go?
At what point do we just resign ourselves to the fact that Jaron Kanak may be TE1?
And he very well could be anyway. I'll say that. Like, there's an expectation in talking to some folks within the Switzer Center that if Lance Mason committed to the Sooners, he would show up and immediately be a strong contender for the starting role. But, as it was phrased to me yesterday by one of those folks, look, everybody in that tight end room is good at something. And there are a couple guys that are just good, solid players all around. There's nobody that just drags anchor. So there's going to be competition, stiff competition in fall camp. Now look, end of the day, like, is whatever guy emerges as the starter going to be an all-conference type dude? I don't have that expectation. But you do kind of feel like with as much competition as there is in that room and just the reality that nobody seems to have the ostensible leg up, whoever does emerge as the starter at tight end for OU this fall will have earned that job. They will have had to earn that job. It's not getting handed to anybody. So we'll see what happens with Lance Mason and Ricky Lolohea. I'm also interested by the reality, Grayson, that Oklahoma doesn't really seem to be pushing all that hard for any portal receivers. They offered Keelan Marion over the weekend. Very quickly realized he was going to be too expensive, pulled out of the running. The other interesting development, or lack thereof, relevant to that whole conversation, is that we have not seen a wide receiver enter the transfer portal yet from the University of Oklahoma, which I will be quite frank is surprising to me. I was expecting at least one departure, and I have been expecting at least one departure in that wide receiver room. Might it be the case that Oklahoma just stands pat?
And if that's the case, how do you feel about that? I mean, we're in a situation where 10 of the 13 dealt with some sort of ailment during spring camp. One guy's down for the long term, and we'll see when he comes back. Jaden Gibson's rehabbing a re-aggravation of an injury. Do we see another situation where it's Deion Burks on the young guns again? Like last year until Deion Burks got hurt.
Yeah, there are going to be some young guns that are going to have to step up. There's no two ways about it. Zion Kearney, I think, is going to have to inherit greater responsibility. Isaiah Satania is a guy that gets forgotten about a lot in these conversations about the wide receiver room. And he does have a lot of experience, and he did have a really, really good spring for Oklahoma. So he's not somebody to be disregarded either. Keontez Lewis, I think, is going to offer something. Elijah Thomas, Manny Choice. Those two dudes are going to be ready to compete, ready to play, I think. So
I think the conversation heightens now, Parker, is how much, based on spring, do we think Elijah Thomas and Manny Choice can contribute against an SEC schedule year one? They look the part. We know that much. But how much can we reasonably expect them to actually go out and provide something spectacular in a freshman season in the SEC?
Well, I'll say about Elijah Thomas what I said about Eli Bowen around this time last year. I think if there's a freshman that winds up in a starting role for Oklahoma by the end of the season, it's going to be E.T. He's that good. He's going to have to prove it on Saturdays as opposed to on the practice field. But if he does that, I don't see any reason. I don't see any reason why Elijah Thomas can't work his way into the starting lineup at some point. He's that electric. To the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line. Glenn from Nashville asked, were you expecting a processed departure in the wide receiver room or somebody choosing to leave on their own? I was expecting a processed departure. Mike in Sand Springs wants to know, when does the spring portal close? Okay, we have to do this every portal window because inevitably some people get wires crossed and they get confused and they're asking questions in retrospect about just generally what the portal window signifies and what its actual stipulations are. So, to be clear, the spring portal window closes on the 25th. That is this Friday. What that does not mean is that you won't see anybody committing to and or signing to a new institution after April 25th. That does not mean, say somebody commits to Oklahoma or any other school for that matter on like the 27th. Well, how is this even possible? I thought the portal window was closed. This is a question that we get asked invariably every single time we have a portal window.
I can imagine.
And it's an understandable question. The window itself, which this year for the spring is April 16th to 25th, that is the window during which a student-athlete can enter the transfer portal. There is no deadline whatsoever on when they can make a decision as to which school they're going to land next. So as long as you are in the portal by April 25th, and you may see guys trickling into the portal by the 26th or the 27th because of the turnaround and at processing the paperwork. There are guys that will file their paperwork on the 25th, and their name won't show up in the portal until the 26th or 27th because the university can take their sweet time processing it. But as long as you are in the portal by April 25th, you're good. You can take as long as you need to. As long as you file your paperwork by that deadline, you can take as long as you need to land at your next institution. So, the spring portal deadline for entry is this Friday. But you will continue to see transfer movement into next week, and you may continue to see transfer portal movement in the weeks that follow as well, because the window is just a window for entry, nothing more. Oklahoma Johnny asks, has that Mitchell fella that used to play tackle or tight end or whatever for us landed at a new school yet, or is he still in the portal? Devon Mitchell is still in the portal. You want to know what's interesting? If you had to take a guess at which school I have heard as the rumored destination for Devon Mitchell, what would be your guess? You can have 3 guesses. I'll give you 3.
Okay, this isn't going to count as a guess, but since this has been a pretty popular thing with former OU players, is Oklahoma State the said school?
It is not.
Okay. West Virginia.
Nope. One more.
Kansas State.
Not Kansas State. Evan from Blanchard got it on the text line. First try.
UCLA. Huh.
UCLA, I have heard, is the likely destination for Devon Mitchell. Which makes some sense. I mean, that's a program that, with where they're at, money-wise and roster-wise, and just the way the last decade of football at that institution has gone, they kind of got to take some chances.
Oh, yeah. Oh, easy.
They're in a position where it's not all that shocking when you see them taking a flyer on Nico Iamaleava when it would seem that no other P4 school wants to touch that with a 10-foot pole. And so they can afford to take a gander with Devon Mitchell. They kind of have to take a gander with a guy like Devon Mitchell. If you see somebody that talented pop up in the portal and maybe there are issues there, but you feel like you can work past them, you're at a school like UCLA, yeah, shoot, come on with it. We'll give it a try. But UCLA, that right now, at least that's what I've heard regarding where Devon Mitchell might end up, for what that is worth to all of you.
I have no idea how to feel about that.
It also makes sense and lines up because he spent a year of high school out in Los Alamitos in the LA area.
Oh, that's true.
So he's got a history out there. All right, folks, let's hit a quick break. On the other side of this opening timeout, we will welcome to the show Brody Lusk, OU basketball insider for OUinsider.com. He will join the program to discuss the recent addition of Xavier Brown, prolific point guard from St. Joe's, and what is left for Oklahoma to accomplish in the portal as they make an effort to round out this roster. Brody joins us next here on The Ref, the home of Sooner fans.
Coach Stoops here for Van Hoos Fence. If you want to work with the best local fence company and get championship service, contact my friend Mark and the Van Hoos Fence team. Van Hoos Fence gives each customer the most professional craftsmanship and competitive pricing in Oklahoma. From wood to chain link to vinyl to metal fences, the Van Hoos Fence team does it all. Contact the Fencing All-Americans at Van Hoos Fence, 405-735-1167 or vhfence.com.
Hi, this is Lisa Talley, broker and owner of Aria Real Estate Group. Aria Real Estate Group is Norman's premier full-service commercial and residential real estate brokerage and leasing and management firm. With our team of real estate agents, specialized property managers, and in-house maintenance team, Aria is here for you in every capacity. Whether you're a seller, a buyer, an investor, or a renter, we can help. Please explore our website at ariagroupok.com. Aria Real Estate Group, the gold standard of real estate.
Beats and Bites Festival is back again at Riverwind Casino, where good grooves and great food are on tap all summer long. Kicking off on June 14th with Josh Turner. Would you go with me? And Edwin McCain. Along with crave-worthy eats from local food trucks, there's something for everyone. Get your tickets online or at the box office for just $10. Only at Riverwind Casino. Why don't we just dance?
What's up, Ref Army? It's Dusty Dvorak. Do you eat, sleep, and breathe football? KREF is the only place for the most comprehensive daily analysis of Sooner and college football. Catch me every Tuesday and Wednesday during the 10 a.m. hour of The Plank Show as I cut it up with Plank and Josh about everything in the world of Sooner and college football. That's every Tuesday and Wednesday on The Plank Show, and there's only one place to hear it, The Ref, the home of Sooner fans. Download the KRF app today to listen from anywhere.
Fowler Automotive is proud to be a part of your community, where our passion and values lie far beyond the showroom. We believe that families, sports, art, and culture are at the heart of every thriving community, and it's important to us that we help build the communities that our dealerships call home. Stop by any of our 6 Oklahoma dealerships to see the Fowler standard hard at work. We pride ourselves on being friendly, helpful, honest, and fair. This is what drives us every day. Fowler Automotive, a proud partner of OU Athletics.
A happy place comes in many colors. One that leaves you feeling refreshed. Something that gets you all fired up. Or gives you the space to chill. Whatever your color, bring happiness home with CertaPro Painters and make your happy place your home. CertaPro Painters. That's painting happy. Get started today at CertaPro.com. Each CertaPro Painters business is independently owned and operated. Contractor license and registration information is available at CertaPro.com.
Many of our U.S. veterans and service members face challenges: mental health struggles, housing obstacles, food insecurity, and social isolation, to name just a few. I'm Bob Woodruff. My family and I started the Bob Woodruff Foundation in 2006 after I sustained a life-threatening injury while reporting from Iraq. Our service members had my back that day, and we need to have theirs now more than ever. At our foundation, we invest in solutions, so learn more about our work at bobwoodrufffoundation.org/success.
At Susan G. Komen, we believe that ending breast cancer needs all of us working together. Because if you've just been diagnosed and don't know where to turn, we've got you. If you can't afford the treatment you need, we've got you. And if you are driven to honor the loved one you've just lost, we have a place for you here. Because of you, we're supporting those who need help today while tirelessly searching for tomorrow's cures. Visit Komen.org and be a part of our Susan G. Komen community today.
I just got a call from the Center for Disease Control during the break. They're leaving me a voicemail as we speak. I hope I'm not in trouble. I have no idea why I would be receiving a call from the Center for Disease Control.
Yeah, this seems like a really wild road we could explore.
Gonna have to listen to this voicemail in the next break.
Well, just just wait for them to finish it, and can't you, isn't it transcribed?
Oh, maybe so. I don't know. I don't get a lot of voicemails. Most of the people I interact with on a regular basis, if they call and I don't pick up, they know I'm going to call them back, so they just don't even bother leaving a voicemail. Also, by the way, I saw this on Twitter. The U.S. is banning all artificial food dyes.
What's going to happen to my Skittles?
Rest in peace, Mike Steely. His raspberry zingers will never be the same. Your Skittles will be fine. They'll just be white.
That's just like circular goo at that point.
Pretty much. They'll taste the same. Just won't look the same.
Yeah, I hate. It's for a good reason. I mean, those dyes are bad for you, but
very bad for you, as I understand. I try not to consume any of them.
You know who else got a call today?
Who's that?
The announcers for the Oakland A's.
Oh my goodness. Inside joke, folks. We won't dive into it. What we will do now is turn to the Riverwind Casino jackpot line and welcome Brody Lusk to the show. He does a fantastic job covering OU hoops for OUinsider.com. Brody, holy smokes. I think it is quite objective at this point. There's really no debate to be had that Oklahoma basketball is having a fantastic offseason, and it continued yesterday with the official addition, although it was fully expected, of St. Joe's transfer Xavier Brown. How big of a pickup is this for Oklahoma after previously adding Tay Davis and Nigel Pack to their 2025-26 squad?
Yeah, this is the biggest transfer portal pickup for Porter Moser that he's had since he's been in Norman. Xavier Brown coming in, he has, in my opinion, all SEC potential. Really, really talented scorer, obviously, as a sophomore. And that's one thing I really like about this edition. Brown is not one of your transfers you bring in as a one-year rental. He does have 2 years. But as a sophomore at St. Joe's, 17.6 points per game. And, he could score at a very high level, scored over 20 points 14 times for them. But he can also pass it at a really high level, average 4.3 assists. But he's the type of point guard that you bring in that, one, can get you a bucket whenever you need a bucket, and two, even when the shot isn't falling, he can still control the game. So I think it's a huge addition. He'll be your lead guard, kind of your Jeremiah Fears replacement, if you will. But, yeah, it's just a huge pickup, and kind of all three pickups have been very, very big for them. And, they're not done yet. And so I think this has very clearly been the best offseason we've seen from Porter Moser so far, and they've only added 3 people via the portal. So really like what they're getting in Xavier Brown. I think he'll kind of come in and be one of the top point guards in the SEC. He just has the potential to be, a very, very talented player for Oklahoma, and he's done it at St. Joe's, which isn't a Power 5 school, but, they're one of the top. They're in the A-10. That's one of the best conferences for mid-major, but he's done it at a high level. Scored 20 points against the second, led to a win against them. So huge addition for Oklahoma.
Brody, I remember a couple of months ago during the season, I asked you what Oklahoma would use to sell to high school recruits or transfer portal recruits, and the only thing you could come up with was playing time at that particular moment in time. What are they selling these transfer portal recruits on? I mean, you're getting some of the top guys in the portal now, and your season, even though you went to the NCAA tournament, wasn't fantastic by any stretch of the imagination, you still have the old arena. What are they selling these guys on that have gotten Tay Davis, Nigel Pack, and now Xavier Brown in tow?
Yeah, with Brown, you're selling him on coming and playing for his stepdad. Justin Scott will be at Oklahoma as an assistant coach, so that's something. That's really the big thing with him, but playing in the SEC, I think for a lot of people, that's the top conference that you want to go play at. There's guards in the Big Ten that would just want to go play in the SEC because it's the top basketball conference. And so you have some appeal when you look at some of these top transfers. It's like, hey, you come here, you're the guy at an SEC team. And that's appealing because you go some other places and you're a guy for an SEC team. And then I think, with guards, Jeremiah Fears going to be, top 10 pick. That is very helpful. And, to add into that, the Fears' family and Fears and his family have been very vocal about, their appreciation for Porter Moser and what he did for them. So having them also vouching for Oklahoma is another thing that helps the pitch out. But, yeah, I think ultimately you're in the top SEC or the top basketball conference, and you can go to recruits like a Tay Davis. And you're going to be one of, our top 2 scorers in the highest level of college basketball. I think it's appealing.
Brody Lusk is our guest. OUinsider.com does a great job covering the Oklahoma basketball program. So what's left at this point, Brody? Nigel Pack. You got Tay Davis in the front court, but that back court feels very solidified with the additions of Nigel Pack and Xavier Brown. How many roster spots are left in total, and what do you expect Oklahoma to do with them?
Yeah, so roster spots, it's a little up in the air, I'm told. There's some decisions that have to be made, but anywhere from 2 to 3 is kind of where things are at right now roster-wise. But as far as who they're targeting, look, I think it's the initial reaction to say Xavier Brown, Nigel Pack, Tay Davis, okay, they're going to have to just go get some guys that can fill the bench, right? But that is not where things are at right now. Oklahoma is still pushing very hard to land Darian Reed, Alabama transfer, who was a top 15 recruit last cycle and a 5-star. They're pushing hard to bring him in for a visit, and it does seem like that's going to happen after he concludes his NC State visit. And so you add him, he's a wing, he'd come in and probably be a fill-in start at the 3. That these big additions. I think so far we've seen Brown, Pack, and Davis, and you can make the argument that all 3 of them are greater portal additions than anyone else Moser has brought in. And if they bring in Darian Reed, he would fit that same – you check that same box. So they're still pushing for some top targets. Reed would come in, and he would be a huge addition for potential. But, we'll see what happens there. Oklahoma, NC State, and Ole Miss are the 3 schools to watch with him. And then other than that, you're probably looking for a depth big. That's if you have 2 spots. If you do end up having 3 spots, you're probably going to add a guard that you could maybe redshirt this year and develop for the future.
Has there been any movement on the opinion of the 3 incoming freshmen, the Kai Rogers of the world, Andreas Holst of the world, and what kind of impact they can make? I know we've asked you this question before, but is there anything new with how those guys are being viewed as in terms of their usage for next season?
Well, I'll say this about the big men, like just so everyone knows, because I've seen a lot of people say, they need to go get a really big out of the portal, an athletic big. Those are super expensive. Like it's getting insane. You're seeing bigs that average 5 points in a Big 12 conference that are asking for $2 million. Like it's really unheard of where it's at with the big man market. So I think Oklahoma is feeling good about going with Mo McGee and Kai Rogers. And so you probably add another big in there for depth, but Kai Rogers is going to have to play next year. And I think with Mo McGee, he really took the jump end of last season, but there's still the foul trouble issue with him. So there could be nights where you have to lean on Kai Rogers quite a bit. And I think he has the body to be ready to play in the SEC, and Oklahoma feels that way too. It's hard to come in as a freshman and make a big impact, especially at center. But if anyone can do it, I think Kai Rogers has the capability to do it. Andreas Holst coming in, he's someone that they really like on the wing. I just think with him and Alec Blair as well, if they do bring in another guy on the wing like a Darian Reed, and then you have Tay Davis playing the 4, you have Jeff Wonkwo and Jadon Jones, minutes may be a little hard to come by, but I do think if you needed to ask Holst to contribute, you could get 10 to 12 minutes from him a night. That's kind of, Oklahoma, what they think of him, but he's more of a long-term guy. I think you put a little bit of weight on him, he'd be ready to go his sophomore season. Alec Blair is another one that could really contribute. Like, there's some people that view Blair higher than Holst and Rogers, but then there's people who, view Holst higher than Rogers and Blair. So it's 3 freshmen who could come in and all make an impact, but Rogers is the one that they really need to make an impact next. We'll see if they end up getting stuff from Holst and Blair. I think, their positions are going to be a little bit more filled than center. So, yeah, they're expecting Kai Rogers to make an impact. Andreas Holst, Alec Blair, both they expect to push for a roll off the bench.
Our guest via the Riverwind Casino Jackpot line is Brody Lusk, OUinsider.com. Okay, so let's be candid here, Brody. After what Oklahoma did in the portal a season ago, expectations were very low. The Sooners were picked 15th out of 16 teams in the SEC preseason poll. You already get the sense, even though OU's work is not finished in the portal, that the expectations are going to be substantially higher moving into 2025-26. What do you feel are the realistic expectations for this team, given their current composition heading into year 5 under Porter Moser?
Yeah, let's just, for hypothetical purposes, you don't land a Darian Reed. You end up getting 2 guys to come in and not make a huge impact. But I think before the addition of Xavier Brown, to me, I expect them to be on the bubble. After that addition, in my opinion, you have to expect Oklahoma to be an NCAA tournament team. That's where the expectation is at right now. And it does, to me, seem like it's going to be a little bit weaker in the SEC. And so right now, as things stand, they should be a 7-win team in the SEC. But, you add another big addition like potentially a Darian Reed, now you're looking at maybe an 8-win team in the SEC. So I do think that, and obviously the kind of 5-year transfer portal, I don't know, like, how familiar you guys are with what's going on in college basketball transfer portal, but right now, basically everybody that doesn't have any eligibility is going into the portal. So the past 2 days, the portal has just been flooded with people who played 5 seasons, 4 seasons at a high major that are going into the portal because the NCAA is meeting about potentially allowing a 5th year for these guys. So if that goes through, then you're going to have all these guys who average like 15 to 20 points at, very good schools, so very talented transfers that are going to be looking for a spot. And, that could make the SEC a lot better because These are really good college basketball players, but again, who knows if that gets passed right now? It's kind of a very strange time in college basketball, but I do think you have to expect this team to be a NCAA tournament team right now. That's where the expectation is. If you really continue this heater they've been on, then I think you're looking at a team that, okay, you've got to win a game in the tournament. You maybe have to win 2 games in the tournament. Like, the expectations are going to be much higher for Porter Moser, but that's just because this offseason has been so well. But yeah, I think we're past the, okay, I expect them to be on the bubble stage. This should be an NCAA tournament team, barring, some injuries that the injury luck we've seen. Like, let's be honest, in Oklahoma sports, who knows?
Last question for you, Brody. I have a concern about the backcourt in this regard. Nigel Pack is 6 foot. Xavier Brown is 6'2". In the SEC, you got a bunch of big guards. We just saw that with some of the teams that made deep runs in the postseason. How do you think Oklahoma's going to build the roster around those guys and maybe even scheme around those guys, being that you're probably going to have the most undersized backcourt in the SEC next year?
Yeah, that's the appeal of bringing in a Darian Reed. I mean, he's 6'8", small forward. Then you have Tay Davis at 6'9" at the 4, and then Mo McGee or Kai Rogers at the 5. So, like, they're trying to surround them with a lot of height and length, and that's definitely the way to go. It is a little bit smaller on the backcourt, but I don't think it's too much smaller than what we saw last year for them. I think you may be a little bit smaller in the backcourt, but bigger on the wing and bigger potentially in the front court, because if you look at it, like Kobe Elvis listed at 6'1", he was about 6 foot. Duke Miles, not 6'3", probably 6'1", and then Jeremiah Fears is 6'3". So they're probably it's a little bit smaller of a backcourt, yes. But I do think if you could add a Reed on the wing, a Tay Davis at the 4, like your front court's going to be a lot bigger than it was last year, because Jalen Moore was 6'7", Tay Davis is 6'9". And then Oklahoma was running out Bryson Goodine at the 3 for a lot of the time. He was 6'3". Darren Reed is 6'8". So it could be a much bigger front court and wings, which I think would really help out that backcourt. But yeah, right now I think they're kind of like their wings could really complement the guards really well, height wise. And then I do think it just seems like this team is kind of coming together. But yeah, they definitely need to add one more big wing just to balance out the height in the backcourt or lack thereof.
Brody Lusk, OU Hoops reporter for OUinsider.com, and as of late, a regular here on Locked In on the Ref Sports Radio Network. Brody, always appreciate your insight. We'll check in with you again soon.
All right, thanks, guys.
That is Brody Lusk via the Riverwind Casino Jackpot line. Let's hit a quick break. On the other side, we will continue talking OU football and recruiting, and I will reveal the voicemail left to me by the Center for Disease Control. Keep it here on the Ref, the home of Sooner fans.
Hey, Sooner fans. This is Jalen Moore. You're listening to the Ref, the home of the Sooner fans.
For the professional, it's not enough to just possess knowledge. That's why at GMC, we seek to refine it, to wield its power, to redefine its boundaries, while pushing the limits. And we put this knowledge to the test in every GMC Sierra by engineering each one to outperform your expectations. So you know you're getting precision and durability when you need it most. And that's what makes the GMC Sierra the truck worth knowing. We are professional grade. See your Oklahoma GMC dealers.
Hi, I'm Tanner Mordecai with the San Francisco 49ers, and I'm here to share my experience with the team at Mitchell's Jewelry. They came highly recommended, and my experience could not have been any better. I worked directly with the owner, Newt Mitchell, and he helped me design the perfect ring for my future bride. I was confident I picked the right one with the help from the great people at Mitchell's. Anytime my friends ask for suggestions, I know where to send them, and I'm telling you the same. If you want a great experience and the perfect ring, you can trust the team at Mitchell's Jewelry. Shop with them in Norman or check out their website or socials.
That twinge in your knee isn't going to wait until Monday, and neither do we. At Orthostat, we've expanded, so you get better hours, better facilities, and the same great care. Open 8 a.m. to 8 p.m., 7 days a week. Whether it's sprains, strains, fractures, or joint pain, from knuckles to knees and every joint in between, Our same-day, affordable care gets you back to life faster. Visit OuchOrthostat.com to learn more.
Looking for a fun and adventurous way to spend the summer? Join the Sooner Theater for an unforgettable summer camp experience. The Sooner Theater has 2-week, half-day sessions for students entering kindergarten through 6th grade. Whether your child loves acting, dancing, singing, or magic, these camps have something for everyone. With sessions in June and July, your child can explore creativity, make new friends, and have a blast performing on stage for friends and family. Don't miss out. Sign up now for a summer full of fun and adventure through the performing arts. Visit SoonerTheater.org to learn more and register today.
Good lighting is an absolute necessity these days, but not all lights are created equal. Did you know that you can reduce the energy consumption of a light fixture by up to 85% by converting to LED? Sounds like a great opportunity, but finding the right LED product isn't always easy. At Wade Electric, they have the knowledge and experience to provide an LED conversion that will save you money and stand the test of time. Whether in your home or office, get the right money-saving LED product the first time and call Wade Electric today at 405-329-1940 to receive a free estimate.
Are you looking for luxury apartments for rent in Norman? The Falls at Brookhaven offers stunning apartments and a well-maintained, calm atmosphere. Enjoy our landscaping, a swim in the pool, or take your pet for a walk in one of our 2 dog parks. Our spacious outdoor areas and state-of-the-art amenities will make this new home feel like a resort. All this can be right outside of your door when you live at the Falls at Brookhaven. Call our locally owned and operated community at 405-701-8233 or go online to thefallsatbrookhaven.com to view our spacious floor plans.
Get on board. The water is open. It's time to go boating and fishing and leave stress in our wake. Feel the wind as we ride and a fish on the line. Reel in our first catch and feel the sun at our backs. It's get out on the water season. It's time to get on board. Find out where to get on board near you. Visit Take Me Fishing and Discover Boating to learn more. And please recreate responsibly.
Get on board. Get on board.
More than 600,000 Oklahomans have disabilities. We can't afford to leave great employees behind just because they do things differently.
Who we are and what we accomplish
are much more important.
Hire an Oklahoman with a disability and gain dependability, commitment, and lower turnover. Reach out. Oklahoma Rehabilitation Services, okdrs.gov, 1-800-845-8476.
It is locked in here on the Ref Sports Radio Network, the home of Sooner fans. Parker Thune alongside Grayson Singleton. I will read this to you verbatim, Grayson. Hello! I'm calling on behalf of the Center for Disease Control and Prevention. We are conducting the National Immunization Survey, a nationwide survey about vaccinations for COVID and other diseases affecting adults, teens, and children. Would you please call us? No, I will not. Good effort to get all of my compromising medical and personal information. I will not be taking the bait. Center for Disease Control.
Do you get all those calls from these scam tax resolution companies?
Tax resolution? No.
Oh, really?
No. I used to get calls about my car's extended warranty, but we've all been there.
Everybody gets those.
Never gotten tax resolution calls. I've gotten tax resolution texts and tax resolution emails, but it's really not hard to spot a scam email. I mean, I genuinely don't know how people fall for scam emails. There are like 20 red flags when you get a scam email. If it even makes its way out of your auto junk folder that basically every email hosting domain has these days. Generally, you get a scam email, it goes straight to junk. Mm-hmm. If somehow it escapes the junk filter, it's not hard for the human eye to spot.
But as Steely keeps establishing, there are some people who are...
hard, not impossible.
A little bit cognitively challenged.
Hard, not impossible. I'm telling Steely tomorrow that you referred to him as cognitively challenged. He'll probably declare war.
I did not.
Wait,
hold on. I did not say...
You and Travis Davidson are both going to...
Hold on. I I didn't say Steely was cognitively
You're going to
challenged.
end up on his hit list right next to Travis Davidson.
I said Steely refers to other people and has established that there are other people who are cognitively challenged.
I don't care. I'm running with this narrative.
You know, Parker Thune?
CJ,
you always set me up with the Oklahoma State stuff, trying to get me on the wrong side of the texters. Now you're over here trying to get me on the wrong side of Steely.
It's quality entertainment. CJ Shooter in Florida says, "Stop evading your taxes, Grayson."
I pay my taxes. Reluctantly.
Amen to that. A 405 listener says, "Hey, Parker, just polished off some Rose's Cafe. You're right. It's pretty good stuff. Headed back to Oklahoma." Yeah, Rose's Cafe, man.
Solid. Some good stuff.
It'll run you $20 for a fajita plate, but that is $20 well spent. As I have said before, you eat at Rose's, you will walk away good full. There's good full and there's bad full.
Mm-hmm.
Bad full is one of those meals that you feel like is going to, like, you know it's going to hit you later on, but you're just like, this is so good right now. This sounds so good right now. I've got to take the plunge. And then you regret it 2 hours down the road. But good full, man.
So Taco Bell.
Sure, Taco Bell. I've only eaten Taco Bell like 3 times in my life.
Interesting.
I never frequented Taco Bell. But Rose's Cafe is one of those places, and there are very few of them on this earth that you can show up to, and I know exactly what I'm going to order every single time. And I know that 2 hours down the road, I'm still going to be feeling good full. I will have a very satisfied feeling in my belly. Matt from Greenwood wants to know, Grayson, do you like saying, "Hey, pickle, pickle"?
Man, hell no. I'm not going to lie. That is the strangest ad read I've ever done in my life.
Oh, Jesse G says, Parker the Spoon Thune because he stirs stuff up. Fair.
The Spoon Thune. That sounds like a 90s NBA nickname.
Uh-huh. Reformed Homer says, did he just call Steely an old codger? Yeah, he did, Reformed Homer. You're going to have to let Steely know about it promptly at noon tomorrow.
I did not say
We're going to have to get a public response from the old man. Okay, let's dive back into our subject material here, Grayson, because I want to talk about, and I'm not sure whether I mentioned this at all last week, but I did toss in a new future cast for a 4-star wide receiver target in the 2026 cycle for Oklahoma. As of right now, of course, they have one commit that could really only be categorized as a soft commit at best in 4-star California receiver Daniel Odom from St. John Bosco. They're going to try to take 4. We know that much. It's going to be a big receiver class by modern standards for Emmett Jones in Oklahoma. And one of the guys that I really, really like Oklahoma to land right now is a guy that visited quietly the week of the spring game. He's pretty quiet in general when it comes to his recruitment. But, boy, is he a fun football player. And that is 6'3", 205-pound Duncanville High School product, Zachary Turner. Regarded as a tight end by some institutions, regarded as a jumbo receiver by others. Not unlike Ivan Carrion, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he doesn't have the Ivan Carrion physique because no one does. Ivan Carrion is a 6'6" alien. But Zachary Turner is 6'3", 205, well-built, versatile cat, dangerous pass catcher, really skilled in the open field when he's got the ball in his hands. But this is a guy, Grayson, that there hasn't been a whole lot of buzz on with regard to Oklahoma for very long. But as of late, it seems that things are really, really heating up between the South Dallas stud and the Sooners.
This is an interesting development, I think, because Zach Turner, he provides so much positional versatility. There's no telling how you could use this guy because he's quick and so spatially aware that he can become a big body that you can use to roam the middle of the field. He clearly has the body type of an X. He's a prototypical X. And then he can also play tight end too, which should be exciting because tight end has been I don't want to say a cluster, you know what, but damn near, at least for this year, and going back last year with Bao Sharp. So there's a lot of good that can come out of this, and especially with how creative we assume Ben Arbuckle is going to be with his offense. You get a guy like that can be a pretty deadly combination putting those two together. So I'm interested to see where this goes.
Is he one of those guys that kind of like a Mark Andrews, you just turn into a plus-size slot guy?
Basically.
Just let him be a mismatch?
Basically. That's honestly what I think is going to be his best fit. 6'2", 205 right now, you're probably looking at a guy getting to campus by the time he steps foot on Owen Field at what? Let's just say conservatively 215. Maybe even 220. That's somebody that people are going to have a ton of problems matching up with. You would almost need, I'll tell you what, you would almost need a guy like a Michael Boganowski to cover that guy. And oh, by the way, Michael Boganowski plays for the Sooners.
Mm-hmm. Michael Boganowski, one of those guys that you're glad you don't have to play against him. You'll be real glad you don't have to play against him here in the next couple of years. Upperclassman Michael Boganowski, that's going to be a dangerous man. Eric in the OC says 6'3", 205 does not sound like an SEC tight end. Sorry. Well, yeah, again, Oklahoma's not recruiting him as a tight end. They're recruiting him as a wide receiver. This is Emmett Jones running points on the recruitment, not Joe John Finley. 6'3", 205, I mean, physically speaking, what you're not far off from, or I should say who you're not far off from, is Manny Choice.
True.
Who's 6'4", 212.
Yeah.
And another South Dallas kid. All right, so there are parallels there between Zachary Turner and Manny Choice, who obviously was one of two receiver signees alongside Elijah Thomas for Oklahoma in the 2025 recruiting class. Interesting developments as of late in the receiver room, mostly due to the fact that you now have Jim Nagy and Taylor Redd and an Oklahoma scouting staff that's taking shape. For instance, man, I don't know. I don't think we talked about this last week. I'm not sure how much it's been talked about publicly, but I don't know that Mason James is a shoo-in for Oklahoma's class anymore either.
We haven't mentioned this.
And Mason James, look, he's right up the road at Norman North, 5 miles away, a guy that Emmett Jones has been building a relationship with for the past year and a half. Is Oklahoma going to push as hard for Mason James moving forward? Quite frankly, I have my doubts because the word is, and this is understandable for a guy that comes from the NFL side of things, Jim Nagy likes bigger receivers. Zachary Turner, bigger receiver.
Mm-hmm.
Your one current commit, Daniel Odom,
bigger
receiver. Yeah. And look, I don't think it's a secret. I love Mason James as a prospect. He is my man crush in the 2026 cycle. It was a tight race between him and Jake Krell. Mason James won out. Because to me, he is like the prototypical Z receiver. He is dangerous. He is a dangerous dude.
Yeah.
But Jim Nagy has been evaluating talent for a lot longer than I have. And he gets paid a whole lot more money than I do to weigh in on football players and their ceilings and their abilities and how they will translate to the offense and the system and the scheme at Oklahoma. And evidently, the scouting staff, the new scouting staff at Oklahoma, just not huge on Mason James and many of the other smaller receivers that Oklahoma has offered / pursued. They like the bigger guys. They like the guys north of 6 feet. That's part of the reason why, again, Zachary Turner was not a name that I think we had ever said on this show until today.
Yes.
Zachary Turner was nowhere on my radar as a guy that might wind up in Oklahoma's class as recently as 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. And now here we are, and looks like Oklahoma's the front runner for his services. So the times, they are a-changin', as Bob Dylan said so long ago. A 918 listener said, tuning in late, why does Cowboy Willie hate Steely? The Pokes are fighting. There is infighting amongst the Pokes.
Sooner, Lisa, and B.A. Grayson, I hate those Hey Pickle Pickle commercials for you. Let me be clear. I love Heyday, by the way. I was just there a couple weeks ago playing mini golf. I love Heyday. that still is the strangest commercial I've ever come.
Oh, man, I tell you, I spent a lot of time at Heyday last summer. I got really good at bowling.
Heyday's fantastic.
Really good at bowling. Then they raised the price of my membership, and I was like, well, now I can't go as frequently. So now I'm just kind of okay at bowling. Good enough to win the individual championship at the KREF bowling tournament, though. All right, folks.
You had to do that.
That's a wrap for this Tuesday installment of Locked In. For Grayson Singleton, I'm Parker Thune. Thanks so much for coming along for the ride with us today. We'll be back same time, same place tomorrow afternoon. Keep it right here on The Ref, because coming up next, Teddy Lehman and Tyler McComas take over with The Rush.